What's happening, good people? We are here to record Macro Dirt Podcast number 31. I'm here with my man, Jared D's Nuts Dillion. What's up, brother?
What's up, pencil neck?
I do not have a pencil neck. Um, how you doing today, man?
Good. I just I like pulled. I think I have like a pinched nerve in my shoulder blade. I mean,
Ooh,
it's kind of hurts. Kind of in some pain.
can you get a massage?
Probably not today because I'm going to Miami
Yeah,
tomorrow. So
yeah.
yeah,
The massage will do it, man. You go in there and tell somebody to like concentrate on that. They'll work it right out.
yeah.
You know. What do you think of What do you think of the markets, Geese?
Uh so where do I begin? Nvidia. Gosh, I mean, look. I think it was a technical break.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a fundamental break.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that even if it turns out that this Chinese hedge fund, DeepSeek, is using NVIDIA hardware, like these NVIDIA chips, even if it turns out that they got around the export restrictions and they're using NVIDIA chips, the whole NVIDIA thesis has been punctured,
Mm-hmm.
right? This idea that we're going to spend tens of billions of dollars on CapEx, we're going to spend as much money as we possibly can when the history of technology is that you have Moore's law, like things get faster and cheaper over time. You know, things
Mm-hmm.
are supposed to get cheaper over time. So I really think that when Nvidia was down 17% or whatever, like I think that was a break for the stock, right? And of course, all the lemmings came in and bought the dip, and they ran it up the next day or whatever. But I think that's the break. So
Did you just call me a lemming?
did you buy the dip?
Fuck yeah, man. I actually, be honest with you, I traded it from the short side by a stroke of luck. I came
Yep.
in with a small short position, but I pounded the opening. That opening that day was one of those like your first out is your best out, and even though it kind of spiked back a little bit because there was so much room on the upside, you knew that we were testing lower prices than the opening price.
Yep.
It's one of those. So that was a good trade. And then the following day, I bought it back. I was kind of looking for a place to short it and went rifling back through unchanged. So I just bought it. That just old day trading tools, that you figure out how to make donuts with, and just happens to work with a stock like Nvidia if you get it right. If you get it wrong, you're having a tough day. But it's the stock's been good to me. I really don't see this, maybe because I'm a bull, but I don't see this as being a derailing event for the market at all. I don't even see it being a derailing event for tech, right? What I think is what might be right is the thing that I've been saying is that semis might just be a source of funds for now, right? The whole sector, everybody got over their skis. It's been consolidating. It failed to break out on the upside. It failed to break out on the downside, or, well, that we haven't proven yet. But I got a feeling they're going to be sideways to lower, and everything else is just fine. I mean, do you see what happened yesterday? Meta turned an outside reversal day up into a new all-time high. Amazon traded an all-time high. Netflix reported and traded to all-time highs. Microsoft is pounding the top of the range, and Tesla is down at $400, down from
So
500, which is a great call by you at 350 that it was worth a lot more. So I
yeah,
just look at all that stuff and I'm like, what are
so
they going to do with the market?
there was a tweet by Jason Gepford, who's a sentiment trader guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he said on Monday the stock market was down over 1.5%, and 300 stocks in the S&P 500 were up. And he said that is the first time that has ever happened since 1999 and 2000,
Wow.
where the index is down at least 1.5% and 300 stocks are up on the day.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells you that, I mean, we have a lot of concentration, and, like, yeah, it tells you we have a lot of concentration.
What I see is money flowing into the markets. And I think that it's because of the Trump administration and the things that he is doing, right? I think I see money flowing in. Yesterday we had the biggest inflow into the triple Q cash wise since 2021, right? So professionals are here to buy this dip. And if you saw yesterday, what were the sectors at the top of the leaderboard yesterday? It was all the sectors that broke out with the Trump trade breakout: software, cloud storage, cybersecurity, broker dealers at the top of the leaderboard yesterday. Gold miners are strong again. So I just see like so much strength in other areas of the market that I cannot the least bit get bared up. And then you look at the chart, right? Then you look at the chart and you're like, oh, here's the dip in the S&P that we've been waiting for. We got a shot at the 100-day moving average after a dip below it. I mean, people want the stock market, and they want the US stock market, as you know.
You
So,
know, the funny thing is I did an interview with Maggie Lake a couple of weeks ago,
yeah.
and I was bearish. You know, I've been bearish for a while, and I was talking about the Mag 7 and Nvidia and stuff like that. And she's like, if we get a correction, do you think there will be a rotation? And I said, anytime there's a correction, there's a rotation. There's
Yes.
always a rotation,
That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
like, which is exactly what you talked about, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and when there's a steep, usually you'll see it when there's a steep agnostic bid hitting sell off in the markets. There's even a rotation into consumer staples and
Yep.
utilities on all the horrible negative days. The S&P is down 2%, utilities up 40 bips, consumer staples flat on the day. You know what I mean? There's the
And, and
rotation right there.
And by the way, if there are days where the S&P 500, 495 stocks are down, those are usually the times to buy. Those are
Yeah.
usually the times to
Well,
buy.
yeah, that's agnostic selling, right? That's
Yep.
everybody blowing their brains out
Yep.
all at once. Those are few and far between opportunities in the stock market. I agree. Um, we should talk about what do you think about the dollar and rates? There's one more thing before we go into that. I want to ask you this: what do you think? Do you think the calculus is going to totally change on the energy supply for computer data for computer data analysis? Is the calculus trade changing on that trade because DeepSeek is doing it cheaper than
Yes.
Nvidia now? So
Yes. So that blew up the fucking nat gas trade.
yeah,
Like nat gas was down 10% on Monday. Um and that trade I think is permanently blown up. Like even if you're still bullish on Nvidia and AI, like just the fact that like assuming DeepSeek assuming what they're doing is true, if they can do it with 3% of the hardware costs and a fraction of the energy costs, the whole nat gas uranium trade is toast, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to decide myself because I'm in the uranium trade. I'm trying to decide if it's kind of a dip that you can buy, or if it's going to adjust for needing a little bit less energy and still be a good trade. You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I think uranium is still good long term. I mean, I think under Trump, we're going to start construction of a bunch of nuclear power plants. Like, I think that's going to happen no matter what. Nat gas, on the other hand, I think is I think that thesis is broken. So
Yeah, it could be. And the one thing though that and natural gas also broke the 50-day, so we might see a little moving average bingo here where it goes from one to the next one to the next one. That's why I don't see, just to get this off my chest. That's why I don't see this Nvidia thing as being like, all we did was pop the bubble in Nvidia and there are buyers waiting at lower prices, right? If this was a serious event for the markets, Nvidia would be down several percent several days in a row. You know what I mean? They would just be gushing out of the name at every price. They'd be like, "Oh, the calculus changed. You can't be in the name." You look at the holders, man. There are funds that have 100 million shares of this thing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it is fucking hairy what's going on now. So ownership is changing hands. I think it's going to, be sideways to no performance in semis, and all the money's going to flow into the other Trump trades. So that's what I'm
yeah,
looking for. Let's go macro. We have FOMC today. I have precisely no opinion on it whatsoever. Do you?
I have no opinion on it. I
No.
don't. It's kind of a nothing meeting. You know,
Isn't it?
rates are going to be unch.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Waller keeps agitating for more rate cuts in 2025, although he might be interviewing for a job as Fed chair because he knows Trump's likes rate cuts.
Mm.
Beth Hammock, on
That's a
the
good
other
call.
hand, Beth Hammock, who is new on the Fed, is talking about rate hikes. So I think we're just at kind of a stalemate here. I think rates are going to be unch for a while. I got like a Bloomberg notification that like people were buying bonds because they thought there might be a March cut. Look, if there's talk of a March cut in today's meeting, I love it. I love it because I'm still short the dollar. It's good for commodities. I win. I tend to think it's not going to happen, but if it does happen, I'm happy. So
I understand. I understand. I feel like this is like an FOMC meeting that you can kind of let go by. You know, I don't think that the bond market is putting no pressure on the stock market whatsoever, right? If anything, same story: twos, tens, and yields reverting from the top of the range and mean reverting. Stock market loves it. Right. The other thing that I like about the stock market is we're going to take a lot of the frothy sentiment out now. Right. It was all Nvidia semis, and now we have something derailing that. So I think sentiment is going to stay neutral, which I think is also extremely bullish for the market. So macro world, not a lot to do. Do we want to go off markets already or no?
I don't know.
What should we talk about though, JD? There's not much
I
going
mean,
on in the base metal markets. Gold looks great. You want to talk about gold?
yeah, gold had an interesting day on Tuesday. I mean, it was relentless buying, 45-degree angle up all day.
Yeah.
Like that to me looked like a China bid,
Yeah.
right? For somebody is just VWAPing the shit out of it all day. Like that. So I literally I looked at that and I said, okay, China's back involved. Like that's what's going on here, you
Yeah.
know.
I mean, the chart just looks glorious to me. Like, you know, we backed into the moving average, the 50 and the 100-day. The 100-day held. We got back up above everything. We formed a double top in the meantime at 2,800. But I think that it is a sort of part of the trend top where it just got to the top of the channel and we're backing off. Like it doesn't look like there's going to be a scary, ugly double top in gold, but we have to keep that in our mind just in case it fails to advance from here.
By the way, the high in spot is 2809. That's the level.
Is that right?
You break out of 2809, we're going to 3000 lickety split,
Yeah,
right?
I agree, man. There's got to be that we are due for an acceleration into a new range in gold, 100%. And
And which is probably going to happen if Trump starts making comments on monetary policy. Like that's when you'll see it happen, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, could be. Especially, yeah, we go back to smashing rates again, and I could see where gold can do really, really well, and especially under these circumstances. Well, they'll sell the dollar off, gold will look great. What do you think about Bitcoin, man? I want to know your opinion on that one.
Well, I tell you what, Bitcoin shit the bed when Nvidia shit the bed. Which this is one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of crypto is because a lot of people say, well, it's a store of value, it's like gold, it's digital gold, and then it acts like the Qs, like it's correlated with the Qs.
Yeah,
Um, so I just like if you have a portfolio of tech stocks and you're like, oh, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin to diversify, not only have you not diversified, you've just amplified your risk,
yeah,
you know?
100%. Yeah, exactly. You just stepped into a high vol, another, literally another tech environment is all you stepped into, right? I'm impressed though that it broke out of this kind of small downward channel that it was in for December and middle of January, broke above that, and the Nvidia story got a pull back to the 50-day, which held like a rock. That happens to be the same level where the channel comes back in, so it's doing really technically good things for me. I'm still long managing the risk. I'm going to get out if it gets below. I think my stop's at like 92K or something like that, below the range bottom, and we'll see what happens. But it does look pretty good to me, and it's working off the Trump is so positive for crypto Costanza trade to me
Yeah.
a
And
little
the
bit.
other thing I'll say is I don't think we've seen the highs in Bitcoin in this cycle. If
Yeah,
you think that crypto is on a 4-year cycle, you have a bear market every 4 years, which has kind of been the pattern,
mm, yeah.
I don't think we've seen the highs. I don't. Um,
It's hanging around like it wants to put up another
yeah.
print, and so that's why is it hanging around? Because again, the money is coming into the market. You look at the Bitcoin ETF inflows every day, and you're like, these guys don't take a break. It goes up, they buy it. It goes down, they buy it. The net inflows are positive literally almost every single day. And you wonder what's going to happen when their appetite is full, if we get to that, or if it just turns to be a round robin of the next buyer comes in and the next buyer comes in. But it's making all the right moves to have another bull run for me as well. So I'm kind of have my eye on that. I'm wondering if I should upsize my IBIT position. So that's why I wanted to know what you thought about Bitcoin. I think we've been around the markets well enough now to go off market.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
I want to tell you about the time I pissed my pants.
Oh, let's go.
Oh yeah. So 2009, okay. I had started the Dirt Nap. I was doing the Dirt Nap, except I was still in New York. So I had an office on 3rd Avenue, okay. And what I was doing was I was going to Cielo in the meatpacking district to see. I think I was seeing Nick Warren, and I went to a club. I went to Cielo with my buddy, and we were there till like 3 in the morning, and it was cold. It was January. It was like 15 degrees, and we walked across town to Veselka, the Ukrainian place in the East Village, which is open all night. So we go to Veselka. I get some potato pancakes. I get like 3 cups of coffee. And my plan is I'm going to walk up 3rd Avenue to my office and just sleep in my office and then take the bus home the next morning, right? So I'm in Veselka. I have 3 cups of coffee. And then I start walking north to my building, okay? And it's 15 degrees. And I just drank 3 cups of coffee. And I get about 10 or 20 blocks and I got to piss. I got to piss hard. And I'm walking north and I got to piss worse. And I'm walking north and I'm like grabbing my dick. Like I'm literally grabbing it so the pee does not come out. And I run into the building. I swipe my ID. I go in the elevator. The doors close. I press the button for the floor and the elevator gets stuck.
Oh.
Like it gets stuck, and I just pissed all over the elevator, all over my pants, all over the elevator. There was a big puddle in the elevator.
Yeah, I mean, you could have just urinated in the elevator. You didn't have to pee in your pants and then just have a different mess to clean up and no clothes to wash. That is an option as a guy, as you know. I don't have any peeing my pants stories to come back with on that. Not at all. The closest I ever came, though, I'll never forget it, is in high school. We were playing quarters, the drinking game, at a buddy's house, and one of the older guys like came back and like picked us up in a car, and we went on a ride around town. And I had just drank like 4 or 5 beers in a row. And I was in the back. I was like, dude, with like 12 people in the car. I was like, dude, we got to stop. They're like, nah, we're going to go over to Tommy's house or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, and I barely made it there. But it was the most pain that I had ever been in, that it doesn't go away from you, that story. Let's switch gears before they start calling us degenerates. One of the coolest motivational things that I've come upon this year is, first of all, I'm in call it a mentorship leadership class with John Gordon, right? He's my #1 motivational speaker. He is a classmate, a fraternity brother, and teammate from Cornell, and he hit the big time, right? He's been writing books for years now. He wrote his first book called The Energy Bus, which is life-changing for everybody. Everybody in the world should read The Energy Bus. So John is about positive energy and leadership, things like that. I'm in this mentorship program of his, and he has a speaker come in one day, and it's a guy named John Acuff. I'm like, I don't know this guy from Adam, but I'm excited to listen to him. He wrote a book called All It Takes Is a Goal. And what I love about these two guys over other motivational speakers, and especially John Acuff, is that John arms you with the tools you need to not only set your goals, but to meet them. And that's kind of the one thing that I feel like has been missing from so many motivational speakers that you hear. A lot of them are always like, yeah, I had this busted up story and I made it out alive, and it's like, okay, great. But what does that do for me? Like just listening to your story. But John Acuff, I listened to his book twice, literally right in a row, right back to the beginning, because it fits right in with things that I'm doing in my business. And just to hear somebody outline, okay, here's your big goal. I'm going to show you how to get there. And it's all about baby steps and little goals. And both of these guys are all about scoreboards, right? Keeping scoreboards for yourself in everything that you do. And so that's kind of how I'm modeling my business after things like that. And All It Takes Is a Goal, The Energy Bus. Those are like 2 of the best motivational books I've ever read in my life. How about you? You got any motivational speaker stories?
Well, Tony Robbins just paid $28 million for a penthouse in Miami. I don't know if you saw that. So
He does nothing for me, that guy. I don't even want to look at his face, let alone hear him speak. You talk about a face for radio. He's got a voice that should be, I mean, he should have somebody talk for him. You know what I mean? He should be a motivational mouthpiece and have somebody else do the talking, man, because I can't get into him. Do you know who else I love? Leo Buscaglia.
oh yeah, yeah, the love guy,
Yes, he
the
taught a
love
course,
doctor.
Love 1A. How beautiful is this Leo Buscaglia quote? Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind
Yeah, he
word,
was great.
a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have potential to turn a life around.
I could give you a hug right now. I'll just
Right? I would hug the crap out of you right now, JD.
yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of those things, though, that's real. If you've ever been shit down in the dumps with your head up your ass and you can't pull it out, and somebody says something nice to you, right? You're like, oh, wait a minute. I just forgot about the hell that I was in for a moment. You know what I mean? And so
I
I'm a big believer.
I try to do that. Like if I'm in a cocktail party or something, I go up to somebody. The first thing I try to do is compliment them somehow.
Mm,
Hey, I like your jacket. Hey, I like your shoes. Hey, I like what you did with your hair.
yeah.
I always try to do that.
That is a nice way to break the ice with people.
Yep.
You look lovely today, by the way. Yeah, things like that are great. Um, the thing that's cool to me about like John Gordon's whole thing, his energy bust, the story is about being positive, right? And what I like about it is he's like, being positive takes something very important. It takes eliminating the negativity. So if you have people that are constantly negative, they're called energy vampires.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my God, I know what an energy vampire is. I used to work with a couple. I had a couple in college. Like, I know what an energy vampire is. And when you learn things like that, you have a kind of a different perspective. One of my favorite quotes of John's is the difference between success and failure is belief. And this is a guy that goes and speaks to NCAA football teams, professional football teams. He's spoken to the Miami Heat, who went to the playoffs after a conversation with John Gordon, the Dodgers, the Rams. He's very close with the head coach of Clemson football. I forget his name again.
Dabo Swinney.
Dabo Swinney, exactly. Totally close with him. He's spoken to the Notre Dame lacrosse team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. All of these teams go on to achieve a higher level of success after he talks to them. And if you listen to him, it's all about being gratitude. It's about believing. It's about being thankful and grateful. And one of the best pieces of advice he gave me ever was that he takes a walk of gratitude every day. And so when I go out and take my dog Beckham out, I literally, the first thing I do is say like, all right, man, what am I thankful for today? And it's just generally a good exercise to keep your head in, I guess, a positive perspective.
Yep.
Right. So that's our motivational speaker talk. Let's talk about funny guys. You mentioned Dave Chappelle.
So I didn't really discover Dave Chappelle until about a year and a half ago. I literally had never watched him, and the guy, I mean, literally, if God made a perfect stand-up comedian, like just flawless, the guy is he's there's nobody better. There's nobody better. I just want to tell you a quick Dave Chappelle story. He's doing this routine, and he talks about how he's in a club, and there was a couple in the front row, and it was a Chinese woman and a Mexican guy, and you could tell they were married. You could tell they were together. So he stops his routine. He's like, "Where are you guys from?" And the Chinese woman, she had like a sourpuss. She had her arms folded. She's all pissed off, and she's like, "Well, she's like, I am of Chinese descent, but I am American, and my husband is Mexican." So he said, "Well, you're going to have the hardest working kids in town."
He's brilliant, man.
So she stands up and walks out. Like she's walking out, and she turns around and she says, "Dave Chappelle, I will never buy another one of your DVDs." And he says, "Chinese people don't buy DVDs."
Oh my God. Oh man. He's fucking good, man. I love two things about him. One is that his delivery is so smooth.
Yeah.
He's a great orator. Like I could listen to him talk about anything. You know what he is? He's the opposite of Chris Rock. Like, I could not stand listening to Chris Rock for one moment. Like, I couldn't even care if he was funny because his delivery was like fingernails on a blackboard to me. Like, oh. But Chappelle takes on, the other thing I love about him is that he takes on very difficult topics.
Yeah.
Like, he came on Saturday Night Live last week. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, it was great. You have to watch it. 17-minute monologue, absolutely off the charts. Talks about the Palisades fires. And, in a very cool and calm, collected voice, he says, if you were a rational thinking person, you would have to at least consider the possibility that God hates these people. You know what I mean? And like, that's the only way to take that on. That's a tough angle for a comedian, and he comes up with it. But that's something that we're going to talk about on another podcast because I'm a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and we can go for a long time going back and forth about, Richard Pryor, Rodney Dangerfield,
Carlin,
Sam Kinison, George Carlin. I mean, these are brilliant guys, and they really made their mark on, American entertainment. And in my opinion, there's very few like the classics left. Like, there's not a Bill Burr. I don't like listening to him that much. Who's a good comedian?
Shane Gillis is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I don't know him at all.
Yeah.
Check him out.
Yeah.
Before we go, I want to thank all of the people that have smashed the purchase button on the Macro Dirt Dual Sub. Yeah, you guys are making our day. Nothing is more exciting for JD and I than to sell a dual sub. Like, JD and I work as a team, and we try to help people as a team. And I want to thank all of you that have taken us up on our offer. And I hope that it turns out to be everything that you hoped it was.
Yeah, I think everybody's happy. I mean, I've added a bunch of people to my distribution, and I haven't heard any complaints. I think people love it. So yeah.
And the same about the podcast. We're getting great reviews. We're going to keep on trucking until we're toes up. And thank you all for listening. And if I could ask everyone for a favor, like and subscribe. That helps us grow.
Subscribe. Yep.
That'll get us there. But I think that we covered everything that we wanted to cover. We got through the markets. We got through motivational speakers. We had a great pee in the elevator story. And we got down, ended with Dave Chappelle. Anything else we got to cover, JD?
No, man, we got it.
Hasta la vagina, good people.
Hasta la vagina.